Welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, ETNA's special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. Here's what we have lined up on the show today. We feature 8 Culture on our Insights segment, and on Bright Sparks tonight, we are featuring Innogene and Credit Vidya. So that's what we have in store for you tonight. Let's start right away with our Insight conversation. Now, we've been doing a series of special interviews right here on the Leaders of Tomorrow with entrepreneurs under 30. Today, I'm in conversation with the youngest entrepreneur we've ever had on the show, 13-year-old Ryan Vig, who started out a company last year to, in his own words, donate sports equipment and coach kids in orphanages and schools all over the world. I spoke with Ryan earlier, as well as John Delia. He's the company's brand ambassador, about 8 Culture and what he hopes other young entrepreneurs can learn from him. Take a listen to this very special interview. Ryan Vig, John Delia, thank you so very much for speaking with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Ryan, my first question to you is, what is the idea behind setting up 8 Culture?
Well, in New York, I had the opportunity to play every sport, like baseball, soccer, tennis, everything. But when we moved here, I realized that the kids don't have that. So we decided to create this company, 8 Culture, and combine it with the idea of charity. So we're going to buy sports equipment for orphanages and then drop it up there, play with them for a little bit, and then, yeah.
That's great, and a lot of people your age are definitely not thinking of setting up a company despite what their passion might be. What's the future looking like? I understand that you're looking at commercial sales of some of these products that you're designing to be able to use that money then to support some of these causes that are close to your heart.
Well, in the future, we want to continue going to more orphanages. We're trying to go to 1 orphanages at least each month, aiming for 2. And yeah, we just hope something good's going to happen, and we just want to keep helping kids.
All right. How do you manage both schoolwork as well as having set up your own company? Because I understand while you do have support from your family, you're doing everything on your own.
Well, I have lots of support from my family and then others as well. But it's mainly myself. I've set up this whole thing, but school, I put ahead of it, so I'll study for exams and everything. And then once they're over and I have a break, then I'll work on 8 Culture.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. Mitu, I can't wait to bring you into this conversation. You are associated with 8 Culture, I understand, as a brand ambassador. Just talk to us about the role that you play with 8 Culture, and also how important, in your opinion, is having a mentor, especially for someone this young?
Well, first of all, when I first spoke to Ryan, I was just so inspired by the passion he brought into something like this. He's just extremely passionate about this. He felt that as a young kid, he had exposure in the US to playing a lot of different sports. And coming to India, and like you normally do, he came in and saw that a lot of kids here don't have that opportunity or don't have an infrastructure which will give them that. So I was just very inspired that somebody had that self-awareness and understanding that this is a need that isn't exploited very well in India, and it isn't catered to very well in India, and he wanted to do something about it. So I think, honestly, what I'm doing is just helping him, mentoring him, giving him advice, helping the business grow, both commercially, but from his original goal, and making sure that he doesn't deviate too much from that. So I think from that perspective, having a mentor is always very, very critical, very important. He's a 13-year-old kid trying to make a difference, which I'm really just excited about, that somebody that young understands that he wants to do something, maybe doesn't know entirely how to do it commercially, and he's looking for help, and he had the confidence to ask for help. So honestly, that's what I'm doing, is just helping him and mentoring him and helping him achieve his goals.
I want to broad base that question. I know you just spoke about how important having a mentor is for a startup, but if you can talk to our viewers about how they go about finding a right fit mentor, and at what stage of the business life cycle should they possibly be looking for such mentors?
Well, I think there's never a right time to be looking out for a mentor. I think it really comes down to every entrepreneur, every business, whether it's a startup, whether it's a growth stage. Large corporates today have mentors of sorts. CEOs have advisory boards where they collect previous chairmen, current chairmen, CEOs of other companies who can help them expand, give them a sounding board where you can bounce off ideas and take it somewhere else. So, having a mentor is actually very critical, regardless of whether you're a small startup, whether you're a young kid trying to do something like Ryan is, or whether you're a larger company that is, multi-billion-dollar in size and looking to grow significantly more. So I think there's never really a right time, but I think what people have to do is don't just go and get a mentor for the sake of getting a mentor, but really see, what do I know well, where do I need to take my business, where's the gap there, and then finding somebody who fits you from a personality standpoint, who can give you some advice, whether it's personal or whether it's professional.
Mittu, how important do you think our education system is when it comes to incubating such young entrepreneurs?
Traditionally, we in India we don't have an education system which allows us to think outside the box, to put it in a very direct manner. I think most of our education system is very straight line. 1 + 1 = 2, and that's the way it's always been set up. I think when you have folks who spend some time outside and they have an infrastructure, it's not only classroom education, but it's internships, it's on-the-job trainings, it's having world experiences, just being in a big city like New York and having to go through life there, I think trains you and teaches you on a lot. And I think that's actually honestly one of the things somebody like Ryan brings in. As a 13-year-old kid, he's actually extremely worldly in his view, and that adds to the fact that he wants to do something. He's seen a need, he's seen an opportunity to do something commercially here. So I think our education system in India particularly has leaps and bounds to grow to get to that. But the good thing is, I think schools are starting to see that. We see that a lot in international schools, where they're trying to add curriculum which will get them outside the classroom. I'm very excited to see that even for my boys who are really young, my oldest is only 7, that he's doing a lot with regards to community service. And if you realize, as kids, they are asking these questions. They're asking these questions about, I remember my 7-year-old asked a question about Swachh Bharat. Why the PM and why the leader wanted to do this, and how can we do this? And he came up with a concept. Now the education system has to foster that and help him to grow and to do something with that, which you may not necessarily find it in formal classrooms.
So Mittu, while what you're saying is definitely true of the primary education system in India right now, higher education at least, if you look at say the IITs, several of them have their own incubation centers to incubate startups. How do you think though that the primary education system in India can be fixed to encourage more Ryans?
In the primary education system, whether it's in a formal setup, it's to have an ability where you can have incubation. And for that, you actually need a full infrastructure, and I think people need to recognize that it needs infrastructure. So take, for example, a kid like Ryan. He wants to go, he has this idea, and he wants to go set up a company. But to set up a company, I've seen him physically struggle with actually going and registering a company and getting directors on board, getting bank accounts set up. It's not necessarily easy for somebody that young, and the frustration can take a toll. I'm very happy to see that he's weathered through it all and set it up in a really big way. So the entire infrastructure has to tie in really well with our regulatory system and giving them the ability to do this as easily as possible and not deter them or not frustrate them from their primary goal, which was, as a vision, doing something for the community or having a goal that they can really work towards. So I think it's beyond just education systems. I think it's the entire infrastructure, banking setups, loan setups, accountants who are easily available, legal frameworks for contracts. It's very important that you have it done in a manner where you're not frustrating or, in certain cases, not misleading a young entrepreneur.
Mittu, would you say there's a flip side to starting out too early?
There's always a flip side, Sunanda. I think it depends on what you see as a potential failure or a negative that could come out of it. If you're worried about losing money, yes, there's always a flip side. If you look at it beyond just what it is, I think for somebody like Ryan, 13 years old, having that experience in a new country like India, weathering through all of that and still pushing ahead, I actually don't think there's never a time where it's too early for them.
What are some of the common challenges that you see for startups, for entrepreneurs in India right now?
I think, challenges in India are, I think it's a meeting of the two sides. You have folks with enough financial capital and potentially time as capital to invest into startups. And you have a lot of kids and a lot of young people, or even folks who are wanting to step out of a corporate and wanting to do something different with their lives, but they don't have a means to meet these folks who have potentially the funds to go and deploy into startups.
Mittu, in fact, you were one of the youngest CEOs and MDs at the airline that you were closely associated with until recently. In your experience then, what's the one piece of advice you would have for the viewers of our show when it comes to, you know, managing your own business or running an operation on your own?
Well, you know, the number one advice I'd give anyone is never ever give up. Never assume anything is impossible. Don't get frustrated. You're going to have multiple detractors. Unfortunately, a lot of those detractors would be your family and friends when you come up with an idea and you try and bounce it off. But if you strongly believe in it, you have the conviction that this is going to work, and you're passionate about it, and you have the energy to take it through the valleys and the peaks that it's going to go through, go for it. It's a great experience. You're going to get a lot out of it, more than what could be reflected on your P&L statements and balance sheets. So my advice to them is, if you have a dream, go reach for it. Nothing's impossible.
All right, Mittu, Ryan, thank you very much for speaking with us here on The Leaders of Tomorrow. Let's take a quick break. On the other side, we feature Innogene and Credit Vidya. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and we're featuring two companies tonight, Innogene and Credit Vidya. First up on Bright Sparks tonight, we have a company that offers research and development solutions to healthcare firms. This Bengaluru-based company delivers atom-based outcomes to resolve various complex challenges of pharma units. Palumi Mukhopadhyay gets us the details.
Healthcare industry in India is in a dynamic form. Keeping in mind the pace at which the digital transformation is taking place, healthcare firms are constantly facing the heat. One company that addressed complex challenges of this sector by integrating analytics, technology, operations and medical expertise is Innogene. Using this atom technology, Innogene creates and delivers healthcare solutions to over 50 global firms.
Our framework, our differentiation framework is ATOM. So where analytics and technology are two of our key capabilities which we bring together. And there are NLP and some of the large big data analytics for the next generation which we are using. And this is all packaged under our practice called OmniScience. So OmniScience is our commercial analytics practice where we're using this whole big data to make sense for the pharma companies.
Innogene helps healthcare companies develop content in a most consistent manner. With the kind of regulatory and compliance-centric challenges faced by the pharma sector, Innogene creates digital solutions for companies by using the right technology to control the environment and monitor these changes.
Manish, what kind of work does Innogene do when it comes to the health sector?
In a very broad way, all the solutions we provide can be classified under three buckets. One is we help companies, healthcare organizations engage with their stakeholders, which are essentially physicians and patients, using technology or multi-channel engagement as we call it. The second area where we operate in is medical compliance. As you know, this is a very fairly regulated sector. There are strict regulations life science companies, payers and providers have to adhere to. The third area where Innogene operates is in the whole shift towards value-based care in the United States. We help providers and payers move that or make that shift to more more value-based care model.
Right. So $250 million seems like an ambitious target by 2020. What are the expansion plans?
While that is ambitious goal, there are many reasons why we believe that's going to happen. Actually, we're fairly confident it's going to happen. First of all, we operate in a great space, healthcare. Healthcare is a great place to be in for companies that can bring the right domain expertise, and the right compelling value proposition, right? This is a space which is presenting multiple opportunities for companies like ours, and we believe it's going to be these opportunities will be there for the next 5 to 10 years. Now, in this space, we have already built differentiated solutions, right? Solutions that are addressing areas where our clients are making big transformational shifts. They just need to make those shifts given the pressures they are facing from a regulatory or technology perspective, right? Beyond that, as Innogene, we will continue to make strategic acquisitions to expand our capability as well as presence in different markets.
Since we are speaking about acquisition, give us an idea about your recent acquisition of Skura Technologies. What does the deal bring on the table?
So Skura is an interesting acquisition for us. Skura is one of the leading, or rather before this acquisition, was the leading company in the whole commercial technology space for life science companies. They were one of the early companies which came up with a closed loop marketing platform, was very widely adopted. What we are going to do for this acquisition is complete our suite of products which are required for partnering with pharma companies or life science companies for commercial technology. We are going to market with a solution for what we call is for omnipresence.
So healthcare is a very sensitive area when it comes to restrictions and regulations. Where do you think India is headed when it comes to the digital solutions in the healthcare sector?
India is in an interesting phase. We work with Indian companies, and when I say Indian companies, these might be MNCs, subsidiaries as well in India. And we are seeing some companies making bold steps and doing some very interesting things on the digital side. And these companies have been very successful in their physician or patient engagement programs by using digital. But I would still say it's in early stages of development with more penetration of technology, and the fact that India needs these solutions more than probably any other market will drive broader adoption in coming years.
With the use of big data and by managing data coming from various devices, Innogene is focused to create a cohesive customer journey for its consumers in years to come.
The possibilities of using big data is endless, and India has just started to explore some of them. A Mumbai-based startup is making waves in the fintech sector for making the lives of lenders just that much easier. Credit Vidya, the company uses non-traditional data sources to decide your credit scores, and Vidya Bharati spoke with the founder about the company. Here's more on that.
In this era of big data, information is available at the click of a button. And like everything else in this world, this too has its pros and cons. But there is one B2B company that is leveraging the power of big data to help solve people's financial woes. Mumbai-based Credit Vidya helps in increasing your chances of getting a loan.
You quit your job at Experian in India to start Credit Vidya. What was the idea and the driving force behind starting this company?
Financial services in India is a push market rather than a pull market, and credit bureaus are limited only to like 20% of overall Indian population. Furthermore, when I was working in Experian in India, I realized that a lot of technology or statistical techniques that we are using in India are kind of leveraged from what we had in the US in the 70s and 80s. Now, if you use the same technology that was developed in the US for the US population, it actually has a negative impact on India, right? Last year, roughly around 50% of personal loan got rejected because the customer didn't have a credit score, right? So there's a huge potential for us to build a technology that leverages non-traditional data and assign them a risk score. That's where Credit Vidya was formed. So instead of giving a free credit score to an individual, it kind of pivoted to building a technology platform that will assess risk of individual customers using non-traditional data.
Tell us about the various non-traditional methods you use at Credit Vidya to determine one's creditworthiness.
We have built a scorecard that consumes a lot of additional data sources. What we call them is the digital footprints of our customers, right? And this could be a behavioral data to transactional data to location data. So for example, in behavioral data, we look at personas of an individual, the category of spends, right? In transactional data, we could look at e-commerce purchase data. We could look at your top-ups on your prepaid phone. Then again, we talk about social data, your activity on Facebook or LinkedIn. There is as and when you are interacting on web, you're leaving a digital footprint behind. You can mine that data much more in a much more advanced manner to build credit scores out, right? So that's what Credit Vidya does, right? We have our APIs integrated with various lender sourcing channels. So when a customer applies for a loan, our APIs pull these digital footprints on the customer, mine them in an intelligent way, and provide credit scores to these lenders to assess their risk.
How reliable is this data which you're talking about?
They're very reliable, right? The question is, your e-commerce transactions are fairly reliable data source, right? People talk about, when they talk about reliability, right? They talk about Facebook data. Social data is only a small part of your digital footprints, right? From the morning till the end of the day, like we have taken an Uber to drive, to like order some food on a Zomato, to let's say to make a transaction on the web, all of these are digital footprints. All of this is genuine data source, right? So I don't think reliability is an issue.
So Abhishek, would it be right for me to say that your methods put together with the traditional methods which we already have will give us a fraud-proof model?
I think the way we look at credit risk models evolving, right? You cannot ever take out the power from the traditional bureaus, right? Traditional bureaus have been in the world for the last 20-25 years and they've done significantly well. What we are talking about, there are two sets of population, guys or people, individuals who have rich data source in the traditional bureau and individuals in countries like India who do not have footprints in the bureau. So for individuals who do not have footprints in the bureau, it's the alternate data that will give them first access to their credit. For individuals who are already on the bureau, by combining their alternate data with the traditional data, you'll be able to give richer exposure to these individuals.
Changing the way big data is looked at, the two co-founders Rajiv Rai and Abhishek Agarwal also want to make a social impact with their enterprise. By gaining access to your Facebook check-ins, LinkedIn profile or your e-commerce spendings, Credit Vidya aims to enable access to fair and transparent credit to over 800 million unscored Indians.
So do you think that this method will aid in the financial inclusion of unbanked and the underbanked of India?
Individuals who are not on bureaus, an example, 50% of personal loan application last year got rejected who are new to credit, right? So by empowering or by leveraging digital footprints on these individuals who are credit invisibles at this point, right, will provide a market for increasing financial inclusion.
With an experienced technical team in Hyderabad and the business management team in Mumbai, Credit Vidya has very well managed to convince big players across India to believe in their offerings. Along with that, a 14.4 crore fund from Kalari Capital has further strengthened the company's goal to become a game changer in the credit scoring space in India.
With that, it's a wrap in this edition of Leaders of Tomorrow. Do remember, you can write to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com, call us on the number on your screen, or reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.